Gallery view. Yeah. I mean, there's always been talk about the physical things ramping themselves up. I think it's been a long time coming where the Earth starts kind of bucking, you know? It is. It's the as within, so without, as above, so below. I know some people don't like that because it's smacks of occultism, but it makes logical sense. Like, if the people are suppressing, if the collective is suppressing so much angst and fear, and whether it's manufactured or not, it's going to come out at some point.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a new birthing, is what it is. It's our time to be gone with this, whatever you want to call it, the hidden hand.
Yep.
It's our time.
I think it's also partly. I've heard it said that humans are, in terms of the whole, that humans are sort of babies in the scene, kind of, and I think part of it is it's just like growth pains, because coming in as a creator being, which, you know, if you start becoming aware and awake, you realize that you are. If you have any input into the system, then you are actively co-creating, right? And if you're not aware of what that entails and the sort of gravity and responsibility that goes along with that, then you're going to need lots of lessons, you know? You're going to need lots and lots of lessons in being able to see directly how your input affects the collective. If people aren't aware that every thought that they have come through manifests in some way, shape, or form, then they're a creator that's just like running amok and they don't even know it.
Yeah, but we've been here a long time.
Mm-hmm.
If you can see it at time, because it's kind of spiraling. But we've been here forever, and we learn through all these experiences.
Yeah, it's a really big, really long, drawn out process that when we are in the linear mode like we're in right now, we don't have access. We don't have direct memory access to all of the iterations that we've been through. But I know for myself, in certain cases, I get into this spot where I can see and I can remember sort of going and going, and then resetting back up again, going, trying something else, resetting back up, and you're learning all the lessons in some very slightly different way each time around. And of course, there are lots of challenges here. You know, like, nobody's pretending that this is some easy thing. This is not easy at all.
It's kind of like you have to look beyond the projection,
Mm-hmm.
the other side of the projector, the other side of the film.
One second, Thomas. I have
All right.
Derek is wanting to join. I have to send him the link really quick.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long this is going to allow us to go, because Zoom tries to cut us off. It tried to cut me and him off at like 45 minutes before, so we might just have 45 minutes. I'm not sure.
Well, they gave you extra time the first time I was on. They were nice.
Yeah. You never know exactly how it's going to work. Let's see.
Yeah, sequential day.
Come on. This is trying to be difficult. Okay, I think I know how to do it. I think.
Sometimes it is.
I'm gonna go via email.
Well, you've had all the rumbles and tumbles there. We've had the heat and humidity here.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, been pretty rough.
Where are you again? You said
Tennessee.
Tennessee? Let's see, he was... Here we go. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of strange for me because I feel most of this stuff internally on like a really subtle level, but I always get some sort of a feeling or an impression if something is coming, like around the earthquakes. I've kind of felt it a little bit beforehand, and I think I also feel into what's going on in the sort of the realm beyond the veil, right? Like where, you know, there. I was watching Chris and Sherry the other day, and they were talking about how there's like a war going on as to the portals and gateways in and out of the realm because help is trying to come in and some of the people and beings are trying to exit. And I think we feel that internally on some sort of level if we're connected in enough. And probably if you go deep in meditation, or I'm sure if you take ayahuasca or DMT or something, you would have a similar sort of experience. What's up, Derek?
You kind of got to think about that. If the rumbling is kind of a wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to jar you.
Yep. Derek, can you hear us?
The future outcomes are just future outcomes. I mean, they're all possibilities. You just have to. You can't really look upon that outlook.
Right.
I mean, all you get is all these programs. Everybody's, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. No, you just got to flow with it. Ride the wave.
Yeah. It's like there's so many programs out there that if enough people aren't taking their own reins and sort of guiding the horse, you know, where the thing is going to go, then they are simply going in the direction of one of the programs. It's either one or the other. You're not ever just like sitting.
I just call it delicious carrots.
Yeah, there's lots of carrots.
Just on breadcrumbs.
Carrots and breadcrumbs and rabbit holes. I think we hit information overload a long time ago. Once the internet came around and it allowed literally everything to come to one individual, if he or she wants to look at it, then it's difficult to take a stance with all of the information because almost every viewpoint has an opposing viewpoint that seems to make some sense.
That goes into filtering. You just have to filter through it.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, I know for me, if I spend too much time doing research, I forget to live my own life because you're off in this like vast sort of invisible world, and then your own life is sitting there kind of like, what? Well, can you pay some attention to me every once in a while?
Yeah, I get you.
How are you doing, Derek?
Doing good. I got all my chores done today by 9:30 this morning.
You got your chores done so you can play?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I got a whole free day to play today.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's
Greetings,
good.
Derek.
Nice to meet you, Thomas.
Yep, that's how it was for me as a kid. It was wake up, take care of chores, and then we can play outside all day long.
Yeah. Yeah, me too, pretty much. Well, we got chores when we got home from school too, but that was it.
Mm-hmm.
For the weekends, yeah, I get the stuff done in the morning and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah. I wish today was a little better weather, but I'm still hoping. It's still early. It could still get nice out.
Did you feel the quakes in Washington?
No, I didn't even hear anything about them. I don't watch news or TV anymore, so it's like, oh, hey, I caught a little thing about, something. Somebody wrote an article about it. No, I didn't. Did you feel it? I think I saw something you said it did the little shimmy. Wow.
We felt the first one. It was shaking pretty good, and then for maybe 15-20 seconds, and then afterward we both remarked, we were like, it's still like swaying. It was like everything was kind of like swaying back and forth. It was a very odd feeling.
We're on a ground floor?
We're in an upstairs building. Or
Okay.
we're on the second floor of a house. So I guess that would make sense for the swaying if the house itself swayed a little bit from the aftershocks.
Yeah, houses are pretty rigid. You'd think.
Yeah.
That's why I asked. I wonder how much of that was actually the ground still moving around.
Yeah, it could have been the ground still.
How do they measure earthquakes? I mean, I know it's like on some kind of scale, right? But like the ground goes up and down, but it also goes side to side. So how do they measure?
I don't know how they measure
get
it.
their numbers.
I know that
How far it goes from center?
Yeah, they measure it out from the epicenter, as it's called, and the Richter scale, I think, is like an exponential scale. So like a 1 is 10 times less than a 2 is 10 times less than a 3, or so on and so forth. The magnitude increases exponentially as you go up in numbers. It's not just like a regular counting system.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just wondering,
It's
like,
a scale of vibration.
how far it goes off the center, no matter how it goes, if it goes up or sideways or diagonal or whatever.
Yeah,
As opposed to at rest, it's just how far it moves from at rest.
it could.
Some dimension.
I never looked into it in a ton of detail.
Does it seem like they go up and down or side to side or both? Kind of both, right?
Well,
Like on a wave.
they say
you're
it's
kind of riding a wave sideways.
they say it's plates rubbing against each other, so I assume if a plate comes and bumps another one, then it could make some up and down, as well as side to side.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I believe plate tectonics anymore.
No shit.
Just because it's Common Core, let's see if it's a Common Core thing. I pretty much I check off as like, questionable at best.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never been under the ground to watch it.
There you go. Or up in the air. That would be interesting to see what it looks like from above. I've seen some stuff, but it just looks like a bunch of flickering, like from windshields and stuff. It's hard to tell what the ground's actually doing.
Or where it looks like from below.
Right.
That would be interesting.
They showed some footage of people inside of a store just freaking out and doing the stampede thing.
The typical.
And then on the news while I was at the gym, while they were talking about the earthquake,
Right.
they were focused on one fire that had been caused by it, and they just kept on the fire the entire time. In other words,
What are you eating there? What are you eating, Gary?
be very scared, people. It's a peach.
Okay. good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you do? What are you doing these days, Thomas? What are you doing today?
Just chilling out. I don't work.
Well, hey man, I go to work, but I don't work either. You know.
I mean, I literally don't go to work.
Oh.
I don't work. I'm I guess what you could say semi-retired.
So what do you do for fun?
Read.
So what do you do? What do you do with your time?
Sit out in nature. Read.
What do you like to read?
All kinds of stuff. Not non-fiction. I mean, not fiction. Non-fiction. Esoteric literature. Philosophy.
Nice.
Some of his story, if you can get through it.
Yeah.
It does correlate. I don't even think necessarily everything that they put in the history books that children read is necessarily all incorrect. Like some people say, oh, it's all bullshit. I think it's just the focal point of history as presented is they just want to talk about conquering and domination and war stuff and all that for the most part. It's all about like who's possessing what land, what skirmishes happened over this and that, and how do we divvy up the pie afterward, instead of like to me the valuable part in history is the people themselves and cultural sort of artifacts that people have kept around, traditions, things like that. But a lot of it is just the war machine, because that's what it is. It's the focus of this realm is war.
They have to manipulate everything. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They don't teach about morals very much in school. Seems like history would be one of those classes where they could really throw that in there pretty easily if they don't bother to.
Teaching morals
They
doesn't. Teaching morals
They
doesn't.
teach you about war, and like you said, it's all war and conquest. They don't teach you about like the right and wrong of it. It's just, hey, that's how it was, and we win in the end, right? Because we're America, so war and conquest works for America.
Right.
So what are they teaching the kids?
They teach them enough to make them good little slaves. That's about it.
Yeah, teach them to be robots.
Yep.
Grow up and work at Amazon.
Speaking of Amazon, someone said that Amazon is responsible for 50% of all online retail sales now. So they're essentially.
Wow.
That sounds pretty close to a monopoly to me.
I'm kind of on the way where I'm diverting from that. I find other options
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting Amazon.
It's very convenient.
Well, the algorithms throw out Amazon all the shit you want to buy right there. As soon as you search Google, it's all fucking Amazon crap.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to go deep to find the other shit. Excuse my language on here.
No, that's fine. I heard that Amazon had the algorithms down so detailed per person that they stock up on things based on people's sort of like trajectory. So they predict this particular person is going to kind of buy this thing at this point. So they actually have everything stocked and ready to go before the person even buys it.
Yeah.
It's pretty
crazy.
crazy.
Like the algorithms on Facebook. I mean, they throw all those ads on there, and I just bypass them. I mean, I always see stuff like survival shit. Like, what are they trying to imprint into me? You know what I mean?
They probably know you're a prepper at heart.
I'm not really a prepper at heart. I just go with it. You know? I'm not really prepping for anything.
I'm sure it's mostly based on your search history, like your Google searches and things like that. If you're looking up esoteric stuff, if you do a lot of esoteric research, eventually you come to the point where you're like, oh, maybe, martial law is going to be coming soon, so I should start prepping. Like it's a sort of it's one logical conclusion that people come to a lot. I know you don't necessarily stick with that, but I feel like the realm is always trying to throw out, especially via the Netflix shows and everything. It's always trying to throw out that we're going to hell in a handbasket and Armageddon is coming, so you better get ready for it.
Well, they're trying to insert into the subconscious. That's all they do in that black mirror box.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's that pocket scry mirror, right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's a plug-in scry mirror. Yeah, I wonder. You know, I used to have a very big stock supply of like canned food, dry food, gallons and gallons of water and bottles of water and all that kind of stuff. And I'd have earthquake kits and all that stuff. And I wonder, you know, like how much of that is like really taking the bait? How much of that is just manufactured crap like everything else? You know, hey, make believe this. Believe this. Here's, you gotta believe this. You gotta believe this. Like,
that's what they tell the bean manufacturers. This is how you sell beans, like scare people that the apocalypse is coming.
It scare them that they're not going to be able to buy any more beans. Right? You got to buy me beans. There's not going to be any more beans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your intuitive self you have to rely on your intuitive self.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think
That's going to guide you to wherever you got to go.
I find that to be true the longer I am unplugged from just like watching the regular mainstream everything. I don't read papers, I don't watch news and stuff. It's hard at the grocery store seeing the covers of magazines like, holy shit, what is the world going to? But it's all just nonsense, you know? Like Life magazine, you know, most of Life magazine is about dead people. That should tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
Or a magazine called Vanity, like how fucked up is that? Right? Why don't they have one called Lust and have one called Envy, and you just buy your 7 Deadly Sin magazines when you go grocery shopping?
Is there a magazine called Lust?
No, but there's Vanity.
Yeah, because Vanity, Vain, they all have.
You know, it's vain. Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird, like seeing the consumer. The idea of consumerism is pretty ridiculous anyway, but like the fact that as a country we need this shit to continually be sold, and we have to keep the numbers in a correct spot, otherwise the economy explodes. Like, to do that, you have to convince people to keep buying shit, and they don't ever need it. So like, you have to literally force propaganda down their throats, and it makes for a weird society. It makes for what we see when we look out the window.
People unhappy with what they have, even though everything they have is just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them not happy with being just fine. That's pretty disturbing. Yeah, that's really sick.
Like, I think what anybody has in terms of material possessions over a span of like a couple months probably could sustain most people for years and years and years and years, but they still need to like turn that thing over every couple months or every month or every year or whatever. They got to keep turning it over, refreshing, throw all the shit out to the landfill, throw that into the ocean. You know, all the animals are full of plastic. Yeah, it's crazy.
Buy more shit. Okay, there's a lot of cool shit out there to buy, Gary.
I don't have any money to buy it.
Yeah.
But it puts everybody into this catatonic state where they don't know how to be present, because the possession thing, the carrot thing keeps them like looking out that way. They don't know how to enjoy the items that they have because of the same reason, and they run around like zombies. Like that's what a consumer ends up looking like. It only is interested in consuming. Just like a big mouth running around eating everything up, like a Pac-Man.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Pac-Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. The world of Pac-Mans.
And you have to think like to what end? What's the end game of turning the natural resources into dumbass products and consuming them and throwing them away as fast as possible? And like, what's the end game for that?
How much are we making now that isn't plastic?
We have companies doing the organic thing. Like, there's organic cups and straws and plates you can throw away now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen those paper straws. I've actually used those before.
That was a huge thing. I heard someone saying like all restaurants are now required to use paper straws in California.
See, that just seems. You've been outdoors, right? You've been across miles and miles of forest where there's no human beings at all, and we're supposed to worry about like, oh shit, we're running out of space. Like, I see a lot of space here I could live. Or grow stuff, or, we're not all gonna starve.
Whatever happened to just a cup?
A cup?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like a reusable cup?
I made a video once about why we
do we have to have a straw? I mean, a cup just works just as fine.
I did a video once of why we had to have more than one cup. Why do you ever need more than one? Like, what? That should be all I need for my life is one cup. It can hold everything I need in it as long as I know where my cup is. I don't need any more cups than one. Yet, how many cups do you got in your cupboard?
Two.
Way more than you need normally, all the time.
I have two in case a friend comes over.
There you go. You got 3 for a group. That's all you really need.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we have...
Simplicity, that's what we forgot.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, when Tom, it's like when you come out of that machine that just keeps you running around all day long, one whole day if you spend by yourself kind of flowing and doing what pleases you, that day lasts forever, just one day. But we get on this thing, the clock thing, and it takes us out of our present moment, and it makes it so we don't know we're alive. So the one day just goes by really fast, and then we're on to the next day, and it just goes on and on. It's a pointless circle. It would be more interesting if more of the people were awake, and like you look outside and you see, maybe you see someone donning a Spider-Man suit and like going and trying to save the neighborhood from bad guys, or like maybe if some of the superhero things would actually spill out into the reality. You don't see that. You see people just doing the drone thing, and it's incredibly boring, like for anyone who's awake, aside from energy harvesting or anything else, that nefarious things that may be going on, like the observable eyeball world is tremendously boring. It needs more color and like dancing and moving and playing and all this.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be the odd one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not playing our parts properly. We're very far away from the parts that we're supposed to be playing. The rest of the world, like animals in nature, are doing their thing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But we're very, very far away. Like you said, we should be out there frogging naked in the woods with the animals, really. Hey, like, did you weed the garden today? Yeah, I weeded some of it. Well, that's fine. We'll weed the rest of it tomorrow or next week. Who cares?
Right.
If the weeds grow, that's more food for the birds.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Well, that's the problem. We lost that connection.
Oh yeah, it's gone, and everything that surrounds us that's man-made takes us away from it. It's like the giant distraction.
It's like nature doesn't even like us anymore. I mean, you watch. I mean, you look at the animals. The animals, they back off from you. They're like, we're not even connected to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Animals that have seen people, they're afraid of them for sure. Animals that haven't seen people, though, they're more curious than anything. Or hesitant, but they don't like run away as fast. I don't think. But it's been a while since I've been out in the woods. Seen a real deer out in its natural habitat. It's been a while.
Been a while.
I rarely see animals that are anything other than just blending in and doing the nature thing. I think like as kids we got fed this narrative of like the carnivore world, and that's just the main thing that animals are about, is just eating each other and being violent. I don't even see that very often. Like if something happens, it's like a quiet thing. Like if a hawk grabs a rodent or something, it's very silent, and it's not violent in the same sense that humans are like loud and obnoxious and waving flags around, planting this shit in the ground and like drawing lines in the sand now after they did the thing. It's not as obnoxious as how humans do it.
No.
I don't see it even happening very often. I don't even see animals eating each other that often. Very rarely.
I see crows eating dead squirrels. Crows are the most smart birds, man, but they're kind of disturbing at the same time because they're a lot like people, kind of.
They're saucy. They just hop around and.
Yeah, they just like know where the lines are. Like, you're not gonna drive over that line. I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll wait till you're almost on top.
They'll pick up stuff and use tools. They'll pick up stuff and poke it into bottles and shit, trying to get stuff. I mean, that's a tool-using animal.
Yeah. Animals use tools.
Yeah.
They lack something that humans have. I don't know what it is that humans have, but like the human
imagination.
The human got very scared of the thing called death, and that made the human like make all of the tools into this just morass of protection against all of nature, and then of course that cuts the human off completely from the nature, and then we end up in this little mental box. It shoots us up into our head. That's what it does.
Well, if you think about trauma can do a lot of effect on the psyche of the mind.
Yep.
So everything really based off of trauma. It could be ancestral trauma. It could be your trauma, because all your experiences, there's really quite a bit of trauma in your experience.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with my girlfriend today about how much we forget, and it kind of related to if we didn't forget, then when you learned something, like when you were young, say, and then you ran across a similar subject matter 10 years later, say, you would always have to compare the two, and it wouldn't be very long before you would be conflicted all the time, because you're always getting two sides to the same story for things.
Yeah,
so imagine, like, if you could...
That's that paradox.
Yeah, if you couldn't forget things, you would always be arguing with your inner self, like, is it the first thing I learned, is that the right thing? Or is it the second thing I learned, is that the right thing, you know? Which one's more right, the first one or the more recent one? You'd always be arguing in your head or comparing those two things all the time. Not that we don't do that anyways, but, like, if you couldn't forget, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember being taught that when I was 6. And we forget, you know, by the time we're 16, everything that we've learned before we were 6, so...
Well, the circumstances change so much, and when you're staying present, the whole, for me at least, the whole cause and effect mindset is not as relevant anymore. It's cause and effect are something. It's something that you notice, and that's like the extent of it for the most part. You notice this is how the branch moves when I touch it, or you notice how the sun feels on you. You notice things rather than, okay, I'm writing this down in my journal, and this is how I'm going to manipulate and use this particular piece of nature later on, or this is how it's going to attack me later on. It's a different way of doing it. You're not viewing the whole thing as like this giant monster that's trying to eat you all the time.
Which is what TV presents.
Yeah. Earthquake strikes California, you know, like
strike.
It's all war nomenclature. It's all of the descriptors are, you know, war on this, war on that, war on drugs, war on terror, war on gays, war on racism. Like, it's all like, we're gonna kill all these things that we've deemed as bad.
No, that's all bullshit.
Yeah. War on ideas. That's great. You go ahead and pull that idea out of your head and get your hands around it. Let me know how that works first.
That's what Alex Jones built his platform on, right? InfoWars.
Yeah, Prison Planet and InfoWars. Yeah.
And that's what propaganda is. It's having ideas argue with each other in people's head all day long, but which is fine. It's fine. Like, philosophy and debate is fine. I enjoy it. But if that's all that's happening up here, and you're not even able to walk down the sidewalk and literally like smell the roses, you're not alive anymore. What's the point of even doing anything?
Yeah.
It's very strange. It's very strange watching people that just suck up the TV. They just watch the TV all day.
Yeah, it kind of weirds me out when I go over to like my buddy's house for band practice, and like his TV's on all the time, and I'll come in, I'll sit down in front of it, and it freaks me out kind of because it like hypnotizes me like that fast. It's like, whoa, holy shit, man! I gotta look at something else. Sometimes I'll have the news on and just be like, dude, can we turn on cartoons? There's more real stuff. You know, can we turn on Family Guy or something? I want to see like what's really going on in the news.
Right.
But he doesn't see it that way, and I said something the other day about like, you know, they're just trying to get people into separate camps and fight each other, and they don't want everybody fighting each other. I said, really? Are you a Republican or a Democrat? You know,
divide and conquer routine.
Yeah, every time, and it's slice and dice us all day long, every day, and we all get into
everybody in
camp.
separate boxes. That's all they do. That's all it is. It's a game.
Yeah, you get tricked into being in a camp and in a group and in an ideology. Those are the worst, really, because then you because then you feel like you're justified in your belief system, whether it has any reality or not. Make believe. We're good at make believe. That's what human beings have that animals don't. We have imagination. We can make shit up. Birds and trees and plants and all the animals, they don't try to make anything up because they realize they don't have to make anything up. There's nothing to make up for them.
Or maybe they just are like, this shit that's here is already amazing. Why do I cannot
right?
I cannot improve.
Why would you make something up? There's so much just to absorb already. Like, do you need to occupy your time creating something new? There's already too much here to take in already. It's silly, but like that's a trick and a trap, you know? Everything we're stuck in these meat suits and they're just designed to work against us.
They need lots of care.
They do. How much do you think, like I know when I was doing a lot of exercise, I felt a lot better physically, and it seemed like mentally I felt a little bit healthier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's true? I feel like you've done more exercising kind of stuff than I do.
Yeah, exercising is really good for staying present and not allowing the mental to take over. Because, like, for me, what I noticed a long time ago was that the mental is not a different thing from your own physical moving. It's the same thing. It's very subtle. And you can fly off into the mental regions because your mental is always categorizing and yip-yap talking about everything that's happening constantly. It's like having a TV on in the background that's literally commentating your life. It's like Derek is inside his head like, yeah, here I am on the show, you know, things are going all right, you know, Thomas is smoking a cigarette and Gary's got a green shirt on and, you know, maybe it's coming up to half an hour. Like, this thing is going off in the background and it's like narrating your life, but you, like, whatever the you is that's inside the divine part, the self part, it can monitor and control that flow. Like, if you meditate enough, then you can learn how to recede away from the thoughts and simply be in silence. Like, there's so many. Some people say, oh, you know, you have no control whatsoever. You must watch the thoughts. You can't control. But, like, I haven't noticed that. I've noticed if I want to stop the thoughts for a bit, then meditate, and it's not thoughts. You're more in the sensory body, feeling the sensations, feeling the breath, feeling the this and the that. There is some method of controlling it.
You know, I've never meditated.
No? It's not necessary. It's not necessary. Like, it's if you're in nature for the most part, you are mostly meditating because your thought apparatus is not required to be running on full blast all the time.
Do you think that
it quiets the mind?
Mm-hmm.
So I was meditating, like taking the phone off the hook, kind of, or like unplugging the voices a little bit.
Yeah, it's like that. Because the thought process, it's always wanting to do something. Always wanting to do something. It's very rarely you hear a thought that says, well, you know, here I am just sitting here, things feel pretty nice, like I don't really need to do anything. Who knows what I'll do? Like, that thought doesn't pop into people's heads very often, but there's no reason why that shouldn't happen. Once you jump off of the thing of produce, achieve, do, like all this stuff, create. Because you're not escaping the moment anyway. You're still in it whether you're doing that or not. Whether you're like off in mental land or you're simply staying present, you're still present. It's not changing.
Yeah, trapped in the now.
You are fully trapped in the now. Everyone is 100% trapped in the now. And if everyone realized that at once, then everyone would just like fall out of their houses, roll out onto the grass, and they just like look around and be like, what the fuck have I been doing for 50 years?
Walk out of their house and look around like, holy shit, everybody else is standing outside too.
Yeah.
What's going on?
What is this?
Something weird.
Yeah. That's what, like, to me, that's what sort of the awakening would look like in a sense. It would just look like people coming out of their houses. And just like
without cell phones in their hands.
Yeah. And it's like the mystery. It's the mystery aspect. I think that we're kind of pushing for. I know internally, I'm wanting to come back to the mysterious part of life itself, because like our minds categorize everything, they conceptualize everything, and you have that world out there that's not mysterious anymore. It's like, what do? You wake up, you go to the thing, you go to the store, go from that store to that store, that store to that store, and then you come home and watch TV. Like, that's all of life. You know?
For a huge number of people, yep. But then there's payday.
Then there's payday.
Go to the mall, consume. Buy.
And payday is called endorphins, right? Like, that's literally what payday is. It's just endorphins.
Yeah.
It's like, now I have power. I'm gonna go wield my power in the grocery store.
Exactly. Yep. I did that this morning. A couple different grocery stores. It was awesome.
It is. It's power. Money is power. It's just it's a weird sort of a power. It doesn't require, like I've said many times before, the money power doesn't require cooperation with other people for the most part. Like, it's your anonymous free pass to go and say, I need that thing, you will give it to me, and no questions asked, and that's the end of the story. Like, it provides cover for activities.
Now they make it, you don't even have to talk to the people electronically, right? They made it that way too. So now, you can check out your own groceries.
Yeah.
Check out your own groceries, you go pump your own gas, you can swipe your card, you don't even need to go in the building.
The human element is being removed, just like you have Amazon stores where it beeps you as you walk in, you grab whatever you want, you walk out, the computer does everything for you and debits your account, and no humans are even required anymore.
Isn't that great? You might as well get a chip, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Automatons.
That's what it's pushing for. Like, that's what the thing is pushing for, but I don't see, like, the so-called reals can't survive in that habitat. It's like if a literal actual gear inside of a motor all of a sudden became self-aware, and it was like, what? It tried to think what the fuck, but it couldn't think what the fuck because it was just like grinding on all the other ones and doing the same thing. Like, it'd be kind of like that. How would the gear escape the motor it's in?
You have to
drop a clog
in the motor. I've actually been kind of considering an idea like that. Like, well, how do you get out of the system? How do you get around the system? It's like there isn't a way. You kind of have to just leave and try to start the system. So how does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Say, okay, everybody agrees. Like, okay, we need to get back to nature. Well, where's nature? Where's the signpost to get to nature? Well, if we can't do it in this country because our country, everything that's in nature is owned by the feds, right? And maybe you're lucky and you can homestead somewhere, but for the most part, nature's owned by them. Or, if you do get a piece of land, you're still paying the government forever. But I think if you could get enough people together with the right idea, like, you know what, screw you and your money, we're going to go be subsisters and make our own stuff like the Amish people, and you can keep your money. But where do you go to do,
That's what...
Like it's something that can happen, but you need enough people with enough want to make that happen.
That's what somebody was saying, was like the takeover, the base root of the takeover is people were mentally removed from the idea that they can self-sustain. Like, they were mentally removed from the idea that I can plant plants and I can be pretty much self-sustaining. I can have animals, eggs, this and that.
Sure.
People were removed from that, so then if you're not doing that, then you have to be in this machine that created the whole thing, all of the trucks delivering shit everywhere, all of the communication devices necessary to communicate between the trucks and the dispatch and, the algorithms that send them out on the correct routes and all that. And that's what keeps getting more and more complicated, is the automation of food delivery. Like, that's the basis of it. It's automation of food delivery.
Well, it's convenience.
If you think about the logic of it, it doesn't make sense that we get more advanced technologically, yet we're still all working 8 hours a day. That doesn't make sense. Like, shouldn't we all be working 6 hours a day and the robots pick up the other 2 hours of slack? That's what technology's for. No, instead we invent more tech, so then we need more people to manage the more tech. So then, then that has problems, so then we need people to manage the problems.
Right.
It's like this endless thing. So, right? You unplug out of it and just say, screw tech, screw that, and go to subsistence farming and try to like figure out what it's like to be a real human being. And where do you go do that? I've actually been looking into that. I have some ideas, but.
Or you can join, you know, some people are joining intentional communities.
It has to, I think
It really is.
one of those all-in kind of thing almost.
It's as simple as finding some people and saying, let's just do it. You know, like the fears are the fears. If someone comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, you know, like the rest of the world isn't doing this, why are you guys doing this? Then sure, like deal with that problem when it comes, but don't let that stop you from just
don't even let that steer the boat.
Right.
You know, be your own, steer your own rudder and steer your own boat and make your own path and decide. Well, people make the mistake of saying, like, well, can I do this? Let's go ask the government. Can I do this? Or ask the state. Can I do this? Like, why you ask? You have the power to do it. If you can do it, then, but don't ask. Govern yourself.
Yeah.
He makes the mistake of being governed, thinking that someone else needs to tell him it's okay or not. Like, everything's okay. You know, your moral compass will tell you whether it's not okay.
Exactly.
For the most part, everything's okay.
Exactly. Well,
people, I don't think, want to go out and hurt other people. So, you know, like, you don't need to teach everybody that other people's bad. Most people know that.
No, it's about taking the reins back ourselves in a way that's not trampling on the regular people and scaring them too much, and in a way that's not like you can't war the system. You just do your own thing, and you know, if someone questions you, just explain what you're doing. It's very simple. Like if you're not being violent and imposing on someone else, then you're fine. It's all right.
Yeah.
We have like a minute left because the thing is trying to cut me off, so we kind of have to wrap this up.
In essence, it's like don't feed the machine.
Yeah.
Don't feed the bear.
Right.
There you go.
And like the Mother Earth is gonna take care of that shit anyway. Like if this thing, if it's some giant etheric octopus that's trying to energetically eat everybody, there are bigger forces that are dealing with that. Like us on the human level are not. We're not sitting here trying to like stab this entity, you know, that's layered through dimensions. Like there are things that are in those dimensions that are handling that. We need to handle our own shit.
Be like the water.
Be like water. This free HD meeting has okay. Well, thank you for watching. It looks like we have 45 minutes of playtime on group. If it's like one person, then it's more time than that. But number 3. All right, guys and girls, thank you for watching. Peace.